Achieve prosperous living through spiritual empowerment. Introduction. What is spiritual empowerment? What does it entail? There are just too many questions relating to spiritual empowerment, which could well be one of the greatest enhancers of our life. The most famous people of the world have attained various degrees of spiritual empowerment. The people whom the world follows today had spirituality of the highest order. This ebook is a humble attempt at taking you there. Chapter 1. What is spiritual empowerment? Summary. Understanding the true meaning of spiritual empowerment. What is spiritual empowerment? A sense of freedom is something that we all want to achieve. Being independent in whatever aspect it may be definitely boosts our confidence and makes us do better in life. We must all be equipped with this certain type of positive energy within us in order to have a major shift in the way we live. Spiritual empowerment. Spirituality may be associated with religious things and ceremonies, but in this case, it does not necessarily mean that we should be hooked to a religion. Experiencing this state would mean that one's consciousness is awakened. This enables the person to see the person one really is and become aware of the capabilities and limitations attached to it. This makes the person become happy and contented with the person that he is. Thus, he is able to take care of and understand himself more than he used to. Being spiritually empowered makes a person aware of what makes him happy and makes him more sensitive to what would make other people happy. Why is it important? Our society today has embedded in us stereotypes and perfect models as to how a person should be. This makes most of us disgruntled and embarrassed about our own selves. Some people have even gone to worse conditions, sulked, get into depression, and later on, even get suicidal tendencies. However, when a person becomes spiritually empowered, he sees himself for who he is and who is not. He becomes aware of his capabilities, and thus he knows what actions are to be done. Empowered people know their roles in society, and they know what they can do to bring about change in themselves, in others, and in the environment. If we were just able to empower ourselves spiritually, then freedom, in whatever aspect of life, would just be within our reach. Chapter 2. Enriching the Spirit. 5 tips. Summary. Here are 5 interesting tips on how to enrich the spirit. Enriching the spirit. 5 tips. How does one make sure that he gets in the right path in becoming spiritually empowered? Here are some ways. 1. Knowing oneself. The first step to being able to empower oneself and, later on, achieve freedom and independence is to know oneself. It is very important that a person know his capabilities and limitations so that he knows what his role is in the community. 2. Understanding the world around. Once the person has some idea on the things he may be able to do to the things around him, he would start understanding what is truly surrounding him. It is important that a person knows how the things he could do to his surroundings could also affect them. 3. Prioritizing things. When a person is able to determine these things in his life early on, it is easier to be able to put priorities in life. For example, self is the foremost thing that needs to be taken care of. Without it, a person is not able to reach out to his surroundings and could not reach the freedom and independence he would want to achieve. 4. Sharing with others. A person may be able to gain independence and freedom of his own, but if he does not share what he knows to other people, this effort is deemed useless, and it would not really make such a big impact. If a person shares what he learns, he is able to get a step closer in making the world better. 5. Continuing to learn. A person who wants to enrich his spirit is one that does not give up easily. No matter the circumstances and no matter the aspect of life is involved. An empowered person would seek to learn more to make the world an even better place for himself and his surroundings. Chapter 3. Spiritual Empowerment Through Alternate Therapies. A summary: alternate therapies have become quite fashionable in the world of spiritual empowerment. Let us check out some of the most popular of them. Spiritual empowerment through alternate therapies. One can reach spiritual empowerment in many ways. The most common of these methods are through alternative therapies. Below are a few examples. Yoga. Yoga uses the mental as well as physical disciplines that originated in India. Most yoga practitioners today use yoga as a form of exercise. However, this form of meditation may also be used to gain moksha. Moksha is the state where a person attains liberation and freedom from all worldly sufferings. It comes from a Sanskrit word that literally means release or to let go. At the end, the person is able to find his own identity, called the Supreme Brahman. Doing yoga may also help a person have a stable relationship with himself while experiencing calm and peace. Reiki. This method originated in Japan and means spiritual power from a Chinese loanword. Reiki originated with Mikao Yuzui after a 21-day retreat in Mount Kurama. Practitioners of Reiki aim to abide to its principles that include, in a translation, do not be angry, do not worry, be grateful, work with integrity, be kind to others. Reiki also makes use of a universal spiritual energy that could actually have a healing effect. Anyone can also gain of this energy, but has to go through a process of attunement done by a Reiki master. Zermei Kai Gong. This type of practice believes that a unique form of matter called the Kai can be transmitted to others to provide healing and promote good health as well as help in spiritual empowerment. Some people even believe that they are able to develop their skills in clairvoyance and telepathy. The choice of alternative therapy, if at all, would really depend upon you and in which practices you are most comfortable of doing. In addition, there are many other therapies that you could undergo aside from the ones listed here. In Chapter 4, Being Your Own Personal Spiritual Coach Summary. Self-realization and self-evolvement are two of the most important arms of your journey to spiritual empowerment. Being your own spiritual coach. It is not only enough to seek help from other people by using meditative and alternative therapies on your way to spiritual empowerment. It would help much if you were able to become the personal coach to your own self so that you can criticize easily if you make any mistakes. Having an enriched and empowered spiritual life would mean that a person is able to accept one's self, no matter the limitations he has. When you fail to accept that, and tend to blame yourself for things because you are a weak person who has too little capabilities, then you should start to tutor yourself into forgetting that part. Keep in mind that you are in the road to spiritual empowerment. If you do not help yourself improve and accept things as they are, nobody else can help you in that aspect. It is also important that you always remember the mistakes you have done in the past and take action from it instead of regressing and going back the other way. Do not forget that mistakes are what shapes a person, and sometimes they can be inevitable. One can always learn something from a mistake, and when he does, he commits never to make the same action again. However, you must also remember that a person learns and improves. You cannot always say that it is unavoidable to make a mistake, because it can be when it happens repeatedly. Making the same mistakes over again is a sign that you are not doing anything to help yourself improve and move a notch higher in terms of spiritual empowerment. Become your own coach. You are the only person who can always accompany yourself and check for any mistakes that you might commit. You are also the only person who can bring yourself not ever to commit the same mistake again. In Chapter 5, Learning from Life and Moving On. A summary: Experience is the worthiest guru. Learning from life and moving on. When you go through the process of spiritual development, it is not always a guaranteed success at the start. There are many times that a person will fail, but it is in getting back up that he gets courage and determination to withstand whatever situation he has to face in the future. If you are on this journey, it is very important to have the will to achieve your goal of being independent, free, and empowered as well. It takes a little hard work to achieve this, as well as some patience. Even though the path you will be taking will have some bumps ahead, you must bear in mind that everything will end soon enough, and if you focus your mind to it, you should not notice that you have already reached your goal. It is then important that each time you fail and make a mistake, you learn to accept that you also have some limitations in you. You cannot be perfect, but you are trying to be the best that you can be. When you make mistakes, which are often inevitable at the start, it is normal to feel sad and a little depressed. However, this failure should not be a reason for you to sulk and even regress and go back to your old ways. Instead, you should use it as a stepping stone so that you can move on further to your spiritual goal. When you become successful in this journey, it should feel very pleasant and light. You have reached your goal because of all your hard work and your determination. Courage is also important so that you can bravely face your shortcomings and learn to accept it. Flaws are a part of who a person is, and it cannot be avoided that he has one. However, it should not be a hindrance as to why he could not move on to his goal. Chapter 6. Spirituality and Money, Understanding the Equation. Summary: the money aspect isn't really a part of spirituality, but we can turn things to point that way. Spirituality and money, understanding the equation. When we try to achieve spiritual empowerment, it can be hard to go against all the temptations in the world. It can be hard to avoid indulging ourselves with what money has to offer. As they say, money makes the world go round, and many times we would forget that there are other forms of happiness in the world that no amount of money can buy. However, this is not the case for spiritual people. When one is spiritual, a spiritual person is more aware of himself or herself. The person is more aware of his surroundings and to the sufferings of the people. This is the reason why many of them are not after material richness. These types of people find more happiness and fulfillment in the little joys of life that money is not able to bring. Thus, they are able to have a different view and concept about money, what it can do to our lives, and to the people surrounding us as well. Their views on money. The use of money, of course, cannot be avoided. However, a person who has gained spiritual enlightenment only sees money as a means to an end, and not as anything else. Those who want to do something to society work hard not for themselves, but so that they could provide the needs of the people around them. They give out to charities and help other people in need without expecting to gain anything out of it. Enlightened people do not chase after money. Instead, they accept it as it comes. Money is still needed to buy essentials, but not for the things that could bring happiness. These people believe that they could get what they want out of money, but it does not mean that all their happiness relies in it. In Chapter 7, Understanding the Secret of the Law of Attraction. Summary: the law of attraction is considered to be the new wave of spirituality, though it is one of the oldest existing secrets of the world. Understanding the secret of the law of attraction. Did you ever know that spiritual empowerment had something to do with quantum physics? You may not believe it, but it does. Here is why. A quantum physics law. According to experts, the law of attraction traces its roots to quantum physics. However, many of those in the scientific community believe that this law already belongs to pseudoscience. The law of attraction states that one can use his energy to his own advantage when he follows 4 principles. 1. you must have specifics of what you want to achieve. 2, you must ask the world to give it to you. 3, you must think and feel that you have already gotten what you really want to have. 4, you must be prepared for its coming and let go of whatever connections that comes with it. Thus, the law states that when you think of something as already happening to you, there is a big probability that it will truly happen to you. How it is connected to spiritual empowerment. You already know that spiritual empowerment and enrichment is what you want to achieve. When you start to think of it as something that is already in you, you also start to act as if you already have that empowerment. Thus, your actions will help you work out what you need to do as things follow. Later on, you will never notice that you have already reached what you want to achieve, and you let go of the other things that is stopping you from achieving it. When you are in your journey for spiritual enlightenment, it is important that if you feel and start to act the way an enlightened person should, you would also keep out any negative vibes, because what you think would attract the energy around you. It is best to keep out negative thoughts from your mind to keep out negative energy as well. In Chapter 8, Thinking and Growing Rich. A summary: thought creates results. Thinking and growing rich. The law of attraction has been found with many uses, including in the aspect of becoming rich. According to this law, your thoughts have an energy that can attract other circumstances in life. Although this has been dismissed as a part of pseudoscience, there are still many instances in our lives where we believe that the law of attraction takes place. On becoming rich, the law of attraction says that if a person thinks of a specific goal in mind, feels, and knows as if it is already a truth, then things will start to follow, and the universe will seem to conspire to make it a reality. Many people believe that when they start to do the same in their want to become rich, they also become one. Of course, this event does not happen instantly. When you start to think that you are already rich or are becoming one, your actions start to modify as well. You unconsciously do things that could actually make you rich and succeed in it, which is why so many of us think that the whole world willed for it to become true when the truth is, it was actually more because of our own doings. On succeeding in the endeavor. If you want to succeed, this should also be something you want to keep in mind. A person who believes in success would have self-confidence that could take him places. When a business associate or a client meets up with someone who possesses this quality, they also become confident in making a deal with the person because they can trust that person, and they would believe that they could also bring them success. In its simplest terms, the law of attraction works this way. A person who has positive energy is sure to attract positive energy as well and block out the negatives, guaranteeing success. Chapter 9. Striking the balance between the inner and outer aspects of your body. A summary: the perfect balance is the key to achieving material as well as spiritual peace. Striking the balance between the inner and outer aspects of your body. Being spiritually empowered brings us not only to awareness of ourselves, but also of others and our surroundings as well. However, there are times when these concepts could clash, which is a reason why balance must be maintained between the two. The inner aspects of the body. An enlightened person becomes more fully aware of his own self, his body, his capabilities, as well as the limitations and flaws. However, a person who is spiritually empowered is able to accept whatever weaknesses they have, work on it, and make it a stepping stone for improvement and not as a hindrance. The outer aspects of the body. While there are needs in the body that has to be fulfilled, we must also remember the others that we have to think of as well. You may have experienced freedom and independence for yourself, but this is useless when you see around you that the people are not having the same experience. This is a time when the principles that you wish to live by begin to clash, striking a balance between the two. Usually, people who have experienced this freedom would also want to impart in others what they too have experienced. It is not enough to be able to feel happiness within one's self, but in the interaction with other people as well. This would ensure that person that he is not only working things for himself, but also to his surroundings, thus creating a balance. In addition, happiness felt within oneself is incomplete if the person finds that his surroundings could not give him the happiness and enlightenment that he had worked so hard to achieve. It is for this reason that these people also try to spread and teach what they know, so that a balance between the happiness of the outside and inside aspects of the body is achieved. In Chapter 10, Moving Closer Towards Spiritual Nirvana. A summary: Nirvana is the ultimate step in spiritual empowerment. Very few people have ever attained it. But then, what is nirvana if not a state of your own mind? Nirvana is possible even while you are on earth. Moving closer towards spiritual nirvana, every journey has an end, and each undertaking you get yourself into has a goal to be achieved at the end. As you go through the process of spiritual empowerment, you do not only get yourself to experience freedom and independence, but you move close to nirvana as well. What is nirvana? Nirvana is said to come from a Pali word meaning blowing out. Thus, this means that a person experiencing nirvana has blown out greed and hatred and is free from suffering. In Buddhism, nirvana is said to be a state where a person achieves and experiences perfect peace of his own mind and frees himself from cravings, anger, and other afflictions. He also becomes at peace with the world, gives kindness and consideration to other people, and does not obsess with physical things anymore. How is it achieved? According to the Pali Canon, nirvana can be achieved in many ways. First, it can be achieved from insight and self-awareness alone, or it can be achieved through understanding. Nirvana may also be achieved through the deeds and righteousness that a person has, as well as the virtues, understanding, and consciousness. It can also be achieved with some effort and concentration, or through the 4 foundations of mindfulness, which include the body, sensations, mind, and mental contents. If you summarize all of these things, the path to spiritual empowerment, which ultimately leads to nirvana, is the same as the threefold training of Buddha, which included wisdom, mental development, and virtue. A person who is able to lead a life with the right speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, concentration, understanding, and intention is sure to be able to reach the right path to enlightenment. When this happens, the person is not anymore attached to the material world and has found a different kind of happiness and contentment in their lives. A conclusion: empowering the spirit is a very tall order. It requires high discipline, a particular frame of mind, and much sacrifice. But when you attain the state, there's not much you would wish for. All the best to you.